Hello guys, Art-Teeves here. This is the third and final part of my Creepy Mailbox series that covers the process of texturing the mailbox in Substance Painter. Let's get started. I start the process of baking by setting the highest possible amount of rays on all tabs, setting subsampling to 16, actually 4 is enough, disabling the ID section and setting the ambient occlusion interaction to same mesh only, so that our door doesn't cast permanent shadows on its insides. The mailbox consists of two elements that share a single material and a single UV map. Everything is unwrapped for 2K Reso, normalized properly, and has a padding of 8. I do some of the texturing in 4K Reso for demo purposes, but switching between 2 and 4K Reso doesn't change much here. I use 3 preset materials that serve as a base of my mailbox. Those are Steel Painted Worn, Stylized Bone, and Creature Skin Green Smooth. When texturing masks, I create multiple instances of Creature Skin Green Smooth and use them to highlight creatures' lips, eye cavities, skin, and skin deformations. I cut out some parts of the video where I spend some time playing around with colors. Basically, I use altered versions of creature skin material for its lips and eyes. The main difference here is that I make elements I wish to highlight just a little bit darker. I create a basic paint layer, set all of its blending options to pass through, switch to Clone Stamp tool, activate all of its layers and use it to conceal all visible UV seams. You don't have to paint them properly. The only thing needed here revolves around breaking straight lines. If you want to do it even better, you can play around with the brush flow setting now and then. I start making eyes by creating a new fill layer that has low roughness value. Then I create a different fill layer, mask it, add a paint layer to it, and paint some kind of iris. Next I repeat the same process in order to create a pupil. Then I go to the pupil's fill layer and increase its height, in order to make it stand out from the rest of the eye. When painting the iris, we can play around with our brush flow settings in order to avoid circular geometry that will be used for our pupil. Obviously, the iris shall have a higher roughness value than the rest of the eye. I duplicate the same material, increase its roughness even further, alter its color, mask it, and use a paint layer and a hard brush to paint pupils. Just as I've told before, I increased the height of this material to make pupils stand out. A minor correction. I guess those orange things were actually part of the iris. Here is the black pupil. Next I increase the size of the iris and randomize it just a little bit by playing with brush flow settings. Then I repeat the same process for the orange part of the iris. Next I duplicate the yellowish layer and use it to create some kind of veins on the orange part of the iris. At this point you can duplicate the yellowish layer and play around with some preset smart masks and its color in order to add some red veins or some creepy frame to your eye. After you're done with it, you can play around with transparency settings and blending options of each layer you've created. Next I duplicate the skin material, make it a lot darker, reduce its base height, mask it, add a paint layer to my mask, and paint some skin deformations, scars, or whatever those cracks are. You can use your tablet here, if you have one, or play around with lazy mouse settings to draw lines you want. I prefer to use my old tablet here, because I like to play around with pen pressure. I continue painting cracks on eyelids, lips, and the rest of the face. The second mask is created the same way as the first one. I start by using an altered version of a default creature skin material, pick its colors properly, and then add a default stylized bone material to its horns and fangs. I duplicate the same material, make it a lot darker, mask it, and place it into the creature's eye cavities to create a dark frame that highlights eyes. Next I create another copy of the same material, make it even darker, give it a negative height value, mask it, apply a paint layer to it, and paint some leatherish cavities around the creature's eyes. I use an eraser tool and a hard brush to fix its edges properly. You can also do it the vector way, by using the Follow Along Path tool. The Follow Along Path tool allows you to maintain control of your spline's thickness, brush hardness, and trajectory, which is really convenient. Next I create scars the same way I've created those leathery cavities, but also I reduce the corresponding layer's height even more, so that it stands out from other geometry with lowered height. Stitches are simply painted along some scars and cuts. I repeat the same process for the rest of the face, maintaining its general style. Also, I add some scars that cross the creature's eyes. Next I create eyes by using the same material template and altering its color and roughness. I create a white fill layer and apply a Sand Cavity's default smart mask in order to create improvised frames that will highlight our eyes and surround scleras. Then I create a pair of irises from a fill layer with a high roughness value, the same way I did for the other mask. Finally I create some scars that go across the creature's eyes without damaging the eyes themselves. These have the lowest height possible. Once again I create a paint layer, switch all of its blending options to pass through, and use the Clone Stamp tool to conceal all visible UV seams. I simply break straight lines and circles that surround horns and fangs, giving the mask an organic, natural look. I repeat the same process for eyelids and some other parts of the mask. Side skulls receive a basic stylized bone smart material. I also create a light colored fill layer, mask it, apply a mask editor modifier to it, and play around with its curvature settings in order to highlight some edges and give the skull an even more stylized look. I duplicate bone material in my edge highlighting layer and use it to texture ribs on the mailbox's leg. I start texturing metal parts of the mailbox by using a default preset steel painted worn smart material. I use 3 versions of it, one for frames, one for door hinges, and one for everything else including inner rusted parts. I cut out some parts of the video where I was picking all of those colors, trying to bring them together. I also duplicate one of such folders and use it to texture the mailbox leg, or at least its metal part. Once again I create a fixed paint layer and use it to conceal all visible UV seams. Side bones receive the same material we made for side skulls. I highlight the skull's eye cavities with a dark fill layer, increase its transparency, and mask the seam that separates darker color from the rest of the skull's texture. I do the same for nose cavities. And we're done here. Thanks for watching, guys. If my videos are of use to you, be my guest and subscribe to my channel for more stylized content. And most importantly, have a great day.